Hello, my friends. I'm the Wolfman, Dale Wolfley, and this is the second layer of the Wolf's Den, and this is the Wolfman Breakdown. I'm all geared up, man. My new gear out here that I got from the Mounties, and I'm fired up, and I'm just getting down and doggedy, man. I'm gonna get gritty, just like the Mountaineers. We're gonna get gritty, and we're gonna go into Lubbock, Texas. Even though I'm not gonna be there, but we're gonna go. I'm gonna be there in spirit along with all of you as well, and we're gonna get gritty, and we're gonna get this victory over the Red Raiders. How you doing today? It's Friday. I usually release this on Saturday, but I just wanted to go ahead and talk to you a little bit and break down this Texas Tech team. But before I do that, I want to talk to you really quick about something that I talked with Coach Brown about this week. And every Wednesday or Thursday, I go in there and we do an interview, and it's for the 1891 Club. That's Coach Brown's group that he has, or donors that are into doing the fifth quarter program for him, and what they do in the field, off the field, and just really involved with the players and getting them prepared for the next level. So 1891 Club is very important. We do a video interview. I do it with him as well. And my first question is the last year and a half, I've noticed everything is about competition with Coach Brown. It's like I said, this is like your core. And it really seems like when it comes down to everything, and you can say, oh, everything else, the coaching and this and that and that and that and this, but you say it's about competition. Well, he said, yeah, it is about competition. But he said it's also about the culture of the team, the family, and making it a family where everybody loves one another and fights for one another, is involved. And you could have the biggest argument with your brother, like I have in the past, but no one else better say anything about my brother. Right? We all know what that is, and we all understand it. But when you can do that as a football team here, and you can do competition over here, it's constantly blending the two together. So they're competing against each other. I mean, I guess how many of us, competed against our family members? I'm sure probably a lot more than somebody would think. And when you think about that with the family, then you get that. It's just it's a cool mixture. What I see, and I really liked, and his answer was so interesting. And I want to get this tape one day for the public, because I think that is something that is really, really interesting. And you can kind of understand where he's coming from when you look at Nick Saban for Alabama, and it's all about the competition down there. And then you look at Dabo Swinney for Clemson, who a lot of it is about that family issue and how they blended, and probably the two most successful programs right now in the country. How could you go wrong with Nick Saban or Dabo Swinney, right? So I like how Coach Brown has thought of that, interpreted it, and now implemented it into the Mountaineers program. Not to say we have as much competition as Alabama overall, because we know that Mountaineers are at this time not there yet. Probably Clemson is surely Clemson as well when you look at it overall. Does not mean that we can't go out there and beat anybody on any given day. It just means that when you look at the whole team that they've been recruiting and had the success they've had, we all know what I'm talking about. So anyways, I thought that was really interesting, really cool. I love sometimes the way that you can tell he's thought about things for a long, long time. And just like he's done with this whole COVID thing, and I'm sitting here, God bless him, I'm knocking on wood. But we have been very COVID free. Obviously, you can see the results, and he's had a plan all along, and he executed it, and the team has bought in and involved, and hopefully that continues as well. So we're not here to break any streaks, so to speak. But again, I like what Coach Brown is. He's very cerebral, and I really, really enjoy that. And man, I'll tell you what, I could sit there for hours and just talk football with him, talk life really in a lot of ways, because I do think that he has a very, very big outlook on life, and all the intertwining points in between. So anyways, again, this is the Wolfman Breakdown. So we're here to talk about the Texas Tech Red Raiders this week. Let me tell you this. They say wreck 'em, right? Texas Tech wreck 'em. And I say this: go Mounties, wreck Texas Tech, wreck them. How's that? Wreck them. Uh, Matt Wells, head coach of Texas Tech, he's a pretty good coach, coming from Utah State, and now he's brought a transfer from Utah State who was in the system, his system, and his name is Henry Columbi, I guess it is, Columbi. And he's a redshirt freshman. He looks like this week he's taking over the starting quarterback, Alan Bowman. Wow, are you kidding me? Alan Bowman. I mean, I'm kind of looking at his stats right now. So the Red Raiders are 1-3, right? So they've had issues, but they have a defense, and we'll get into that. But, you know, their defense might want to help sometime to try to win a game, because Alan Bowman, the 65% completion percentage, that's not too bad, even though many times the Red Raiders like the short passing games. You'll see that he's averaging about 220 some yards per game, 7 touchdowns, you know, not too bad. And he has 4 interceptions, so that's probably a little bit high after 4 games, certainly. And, you know, and look at it, and he's had success in putting up points. Scored 56 points, I believe, against Texas. And, you know, they're averaging almost 32 points per game, and you're going to go ahead and bench them. Well, I guess that's okay. I mean, I'm not the head coach, but that seems unusual to me, at the least, when I look at their defense and I'm seeing what they're giving up. I'm thinking, well, if I'm Alan Bowman, I'd be like, well, you know, hey, coach, 32 points a game, should be winning some, right? So anyways, the Mountaineers are headed down there. They've done well in Lubbock before, and they're 3-1. Last year was the first time that Texas Tech is beating the Mountaineers, what, 5 years, I believe. Can't let that happen again this year, and I don't think it will. And I think that the Mountaineers are in a good position. Now, I'm not a big believer in, you know, how many times have you won at home or against this team? How many times have you won there? I'm not so sure. I do believe if you're a good travel team or you're not a good travel team, that's a different story. But with all things being said, I'm not worried about whether this team, who had nothing to do with the team 3 years ago, can continue winning in that way. Is this team going to be a poor travel team is what you got to worry about, what's happening right now. So that's more my concern than anything else with the previous record. But I do believe that going down to Texas Tech, they're in Lubbock, it's a long haul. There's no doubt. It's the longest flight of any Big 12 team that Mountaineers play. And, you know, it can be a little bit taxing. So when you think about it, I think the 5:30 start, which would be 4:30 Central Time, their time, is not bad for the Mountaineers. Because, you know, there's been times when Big 12 teams have come up. We played at 12 noon Eastern, and it's really there at 11 o'clock. So it's usually an advantage for the Mountaineers a little bit anyways. But that's not going to be so down there in Lubbock. As I was saying, Matt Wells is a good head coach. I think he's got a very high-powered offense. The offense right now, as I said, was scoring 32 points per game. They're averaging, now let me see here, they're averaging 142 yards in rushing and 310 yards in passing for a total of 451 yards. Again, that's not too bad, I don't think. But, you know, Henry Columbi comes in, and I broke him down. I studied him a few games that he was in there. He's got a 75% completion percentage. He's averaging about 179 yards when he's in there in the game. He has 3 touchdowns in the year and 1 interception. And when you look at it, the wide receivers for Texas Tech, they average, the first 6 receivers are double-digit receivers, meaning they have more than double-digit, or at least double-digit in completions. And you look at a couple 21, 21, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. I mean, it really is amazing how many times they throw the ball. So when you actually break down the Texas Tech Red Raiders, and you look at their offensive line, they're all 6'6", 6'7". They got a 6'8" offensive tackle in there. Kind of lean. Actually, they got the weight, but they're lean, and they're fairly athletic. They will run the ball with some zone. They will actually do a counter every now and then, and move an offensive lineman, do a power every now and then. But they're not a running team. So when you break down their offense, they're 60% passing, 20% running, and 20% RPO. That is the run pass option. Yes. Why is the completion percentage so high for Columbine? Well, it's 75% or 74%. It's because they're throwing screens, man. What's their favorite RPO? It's the bubble screen. What's the bubble screen? Well, you take it right here. You have the offensive line, and then you go to the field, and you got three receivers. Outside number one, outside number two, and slot outside number three. Okay, slot is off the ball. Two receivers, the first two, 1 and 2, go up, block. The slot receiver does the bubble. That's why you call it a bubble. It's a swing pass here behind the line of scrimmage, and go ahead and try to get yards out there. So what they're doing is RPO. They can either run the ball over here with the line, or they can throw the ball over here. So it's a 3-on-3 game here, and they think in space they can create yards. And many times it does happen. The only problem with that is that you get involved in that offense, and you have a difficult time actually scoring touchdowns in the red zone. When you look at the red zone, they are 13 of 18 in the red zone for scoring touchdowns. And that's interesting because, when you look at red zone scores, you include field goals with that in the red zone because they don't usually score, obviously, a touchdown every time. So, but for them, they are 13 of 18 in touchdowns. They don't have a field goal in the red zone. It's really strange. I mean, they obviously haven't, maybe they can't kick. I don't know. So anyways, I think that's really unusual. But again, is this offense, and you say, well, this offensive line, they've thrown the ball 185 times. That's a lot in 4 games, right? That's like 40, what is that, 44 times a game? Something like that. My math is terrible. But when you go ahead and you throw the ball that many times, you only have to give up 3 sacks. Say, what? They've only given up 3 sacks? Well, everything is short yardage, man. Like I said, their favorite RPO, which is 1/5 of their offense, 20% RPOs, is the bubble screen. It's the bubble. So I hope you can complete that so your percentage goes way up. But what does that do? It nullifies the sacks because you're doing everything quick slants. Everything's mirrored pass routes. What do I mean by mirrored? Well, you go 2 by 2. There are 2 guys on the right, 2 guys on the left, and they're doing the same routes. Slants, ins, outs, whatever it is, they're mirroring each other, and it's all short yardage. It's 3-step quick. It's 3-step and go. And so they'll go hit you, all short, and then they'll go over the top. Hit you, all short, then they go over the top for the big play. And so you can't be lulled and falling asleep if you're a defender, which the Mountaineers are going to have to be prepared for tomorrow. And I think when you look at that, you got to say, well, how does that affect the Mountaineers? Well, we know that the Mountaineers, their pass rush is a big part of their game. And you think about Darius Stills, Dante, Jeffrey Puller had 2 sacks last week. Akeem Mesidor had 2 sacks. Jared Bartlett, the Bandit, had a sack, TFL. So obviously they're into the gap penetration and penetrating the offense, but it could be difficult when the ball's out of the hands. So we're going to have to see how the defensive coaches are going to come up. And suffice to say is that I think that they're going to come up kind of like the Iowa State did. And Iowa State, if you recall, they are that 3-2-6 kind of out there with 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and then like 6 defensive backs with mainly safeties in there. And what they do is they form a cloud. We used to call it umbrella. Gibby used to run the defense all the time. It was an umbrella defense where you really did not let any receiver, the opposing team, get behind you. So you get everything in front of you. If you remember that with Will Greer, sick of his father. No, Will Greer, and how Will had struggled with that at times because we couldn't get anybody deep. Well, that's exactly what Iowa State did. And I think it frustrated Bowman because everything was short. So now if you keep throwing all these short passes all the time, you're completing them, but now you're getting drives of 12 to 17 to try to score. And what can happen when you have long drives all the time, and I mean all the time, okay, what you happen to have there is that you can get mistakes, penalties, things that can screw up moving those chains forward as opposed to a 7 or 8 play drive to score either a field goal or a touchdown. Well, when you keep doing that, then that causes problems. And that, I think, really did frustrate Al Bowman. So it's why they've gone to Henry Columbine in the switch. But again, now let's look at this offensive line. They're averaging 141 yards rushing per game. I don't see physicality. You know, when I see the Mountaineers come off now, and I'm being serious now. When I see it, I'm seeing defenders move backwards. I like that. That's a physical offensive line. That's some good stuff, man. That's stuff coming out your neck as an offensive lineman, just oozing, right? Just nastiness coming out. That's moving guys back, moving them off their territory. Well, you don't see that with this Texas Tech team, and I'm very interested. Their splits are huge, whether it be run or pass. They got a huge splits, and what they try to do is separate you in between the tackles so they can run up the middle, because there's very few outside runs that they're trying to get outside, like an outside zone, anything like that. Again, because they're just going to go to what? The bubble screen, where that's about as outside as you can get. I call screens basically a run. It's behind the line of scrimmage, and you throw the ball in the screen. It's not hard to complete. The 74% completion percentage by Columbine. So when you look at the offensive line, the 20% run, they will gash you. They will get 5 or 6 yards. You know, you got Sarandrick Thompson, number 4 running back. He's a sophomore. He's number 4 in his jersey, I should say. Number 1 running back. He's averaging 5 yards per carry. Then you got Xavier White, number 14. I think he's a redshirt freshman. He's averaging 6 yards per carry. But again, is when you're throwing the ball so much and you're a defense and you're trying to keep everybody underneath of the receivers, you're going to give up a carry here or a carry there more than average yards. I mean, that was the whole concept of the run and shoot. Really, it was that to get the most yards of running when you can, because everybody's guarding the pass. Well, that's kind of the same theory that's going on here as well. And they do put up some yards, and they do put up some points. 32 points has nothing to sneeze at. What I'm saying here is that the Mountaineers are going to have to be very careful in how they're defending this, because you're going to have to pick their times when they want to try to rush. You're going to have to pick their times when they want to try to drop some guys back, I think. And Columbine, remember, is a quarterback that is not afraid to drop back for a pass, but then put the ball down and run. Seen that quite a few times on tape. He's not afraid to do that. So we're going to have to keep him in check in the pocket somehow. Not like we didn't do that with Charlie Brewer, with Baylor, or teams that the Mountaineers have played in the past. So that's a concern. It's not an over concern that he's a great runner, but I think he can actually move some chains with his feet, meaning he can scramble a little bit. So he's got a knack for that as well. You know, I think overall, when you look at their offense, this is what I want to say. Okay, I'm going to just come out and say it. I think our defense has to punch them in the mouth. I really do. And I think if you go ahead and you punch them, I don't see physicality on his team. And when I get to defense, I'm going to say the same thing. I don't see a physicalness that I'm like, yeah, man, this team is really physical and is going to punish you and wear you out at the end of the game. Even though they go tempo. I mean, this offense is tempo. And here's another thing I forgot. I should have put it in here as well, is that this offense is 98% thus far through 40 games. 98% with 11 personnel. 1 running back, 1 tight end, obviously 3 wide receivers. They will line up in double, like a 10. That's 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. They will line up in that. But you don't really change out and go with 10 personnel. You go with a tight end. They have 2 tight ends, a redshirt freshman, 6'5" redshirt freshman, and a 6'5" senior as well. So they have experience there. Again, I'm not going to say that they're great blockers. I mean, how can you be a great forward blocker in the running game if you're always practicing the pass, right? Think about it. I mean, I had this same discussion, I guess, argument, mild argument, with Dana Holgerson. It's like, you got to develop a mentality, and he did that. Remember with Skylar Howard, is that the offensive line got tough. Skylar Howard got tough, and they ran the ball, and they ran, and they won. They went 10-2 in the Big 12 because of the mentality of running the ball they have. And that's exactly what I'm seeing with our Mountaineers. I'm seeing it growing. They're not there yet. We are not there yet. And I'm not trying to say that were there yet. We have 2 freshmen on the one side as of right now, with Zach Frazier, true freshman, and Brandon Yates, redshirt freshman at tackle. So when you look at that, I'm like, no, we are not there yet. But I like the signs that I'm seeing, and I like the fight, and I like the attitude. I saw, Brandon Yates 3 games ago was not blocking to the whistle. He would do his blocking thing. He did a good job. Well, he's learned through these starts and this playing time that he's had, but you got to block to the whistle, man. And then all of a sudden, I think he's looking at his buddy, Zach Frazier, there. And Zach Frazier's a physical guy. He never had to tell that guy to block to the whistle. I'll tell you that much. But I think, there's some rubbing off going on each other. I think they're enjoying themselves. I think they're enjoying playing. And they're 2 youngins, man. I mean, it's almost freakish to me. And congratulations to them for what's the Football Writers American Association of America, I don't know, Football Writers Association, something like that, for the freshman All-American watch list. And you also have Jared Bartlett on defense at Bandit, and Hakeem Mesidor, who's playing more defensive end now than on the interior. And so that you have 4 guys, and I talked to Coach Brown about that as well, and he said, well, it's a great thing that you have a future. It's a great thing that you have really talented guys, but sometimes you just want a little bit older and more experienced at the time. Doesn't mean he doesn't love them. He loves them, of course, and knows that they're going to be special. But also at times, you could also have some negative plays against you, especially amongst offensive line. I mean, if you think about this, I'm going to just be straight up. You can't even think about how freakish this is to have 2 freshmen on your offensive line and be number 2 in the Big 12 and running, and only giving up like 1.5 sacks per game or 2 sacks, whatever it may be. They did some things wrong. Kansas did a couple things in the beginning when they came in at 4-man front instead of 3-man, but they corrected it, and they actually listened to coaches and corrected their mistakes, and they got better, man. They got better, and I'm sure Jared Deggy was really appreciative of that because he wasn't taking as many hits from behind on the left side. So anyways, let's go ahead. Let's move over to the defense. What do I want to say about the defense? I don't like this defense. They're 3-2 defense, kind of like Iowa State is, that 3 defensive linemen. They'll have 2 backers. They'll have whatever we'll call, for our sake, the bandit, be on one side or the other coming up, rushing, drop it off. They'll bring backers shooting through the gaps. They you know who it is. It's the secondary is cover 4. They want to disguise a little bit. It's Patterson. Keith, remember Keith and his our defensive coordinator? Things haven't changed for that kid. I mean, I don't know. If I sat there and said, well, listen, we're going to give up 499 yards, per game, and we're going to give up 39 points scoring per game, which they do. And was it giving up 163? They're giving up 355 yards in the air. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, it's a defense. I don't see physicality. I'm looking here, and where is it? The starters here, the tackles. So you have a 3-2. You got a 3-3 stack. Remember the stack there? I know we know that. But they have that as well, a 3-3 stack, which I think actually helps them more in the running game because they got 6 guys in the box. But when I sit there and I see this whole team is, well, where's the physicality, man? The cover 4, cover 3, cover 1-3. I mean, I don't see them going out there and playing with any great players. Any players that are just fighting, man. Just give me some fight. I mean, I can tell you what they're doing. They're giving up 13 touchdown passes in 4 games. 13. It's something. I mean, how many sacks? They have 6 total sacks on the season. And that's not against teams that are throwing short, quick passes. So this goes back. Okay, got me going on it. So now I'm going to go on. This goes back to what I hate about the air raid. You got to find a fine mixture. But I thought that Dana Holgerson did a really good job with the 10-2 season of throwing the long ball. Remember, Skyler was throwing some good long balls. struggled on the intermediate passes, but he could run the ball as well. And I think that's where Dana really became, I think that was his greatest coaching time that I've seen from him at all, by far and above any other time. And but when you sit there and you throw the ball at times in offense, well, what does your defense practice against? Well, okay, so you say, well, they're going to practice opposing teams against scout. That's all young kids. It's all young kids. So how tough do you got to be to stop a young kid? Usually, and we're not talking about Zach Frazier's now or Akeem Mesidor's. We're talking about a normal freshman. And a normal freshman is not there quite in the weight room, the overall strength, and not there in his technique or skill. They will be given through time, but usually the line, offense and defense, are usually through development, unless you have some freaks, which the Mountaineers actually do at this time. But when you go back to that, is when I say iron sharpens iron, and it says in the Bible, that goes way back 6,000 years, 5,000 years, 4,000. So it's been around for a while. Iron sharpens iron. Well, you think about that, and you know, how do you sharpen your iron when they're going back and pass pro? Soft, right? Soft. How do I go forward? How do I move a defender from that spot here and push them? To me, that's the area. That's the tough thing. You don't know how to do that. Now, maybe if you're in the NFL and you've been through a college team and high school team, you learn how to run block, a little different story. But when you're at this, in comparison to their career where you're at, this is different. It is different. And I think that is the problem when you get to the areas, because it makes your defense soft. Hard to stop the run. Hard to stop the run. And that's when you really need it. The Mountaineers in the red zone. Let's talk about the red zone. Last year, WVU was 16 of 34 scoring touchdowns. That's 47% scoring touchdowns in the red zone. 47%. This year, they're at 78%. They're 14 of 18. I think it's like 77 point something. I'm rounding up. So 78% in the red zone this year. Defensively, the Mountaineers are number one at 60%. Touchdowns, 40%. I mean, Kansas didn't even get a red zone. I think it's like they're 3 of 5, right? Something like that, and 2 of 5 in the red zone scoring touchdown. So our defense, when you look at that, is what I really love when I see Coach Brown. What does he say? He says, well, this is what we did well last year, and this is what we didn't do so well last year. Red zone, offensively, defensively, was on the list. Running the ball offensively was on the list. Stopping the run defensively was on the list. And you can see that they're making these improvements. Now, what I like is when a coach says this, he says, this is our deficiencies, and we're going to focus on those, and we're going to get better at that. That's pretty dang good. I mean, that really is. It tells me that, hey, this cat, when he's telling you something, he means it. So I think that is really, it's really, really important to understand is that when you're on the road, your red zone, gritty. Coach keeps saying is that we're probably not the best team in the Big 12 for talent-wise, but we want to be the grittiest team, the toughest team. Mountaineer team, representing Mountaineers and Mountaineer Nation. That's what we love, right? Well, we all love the fact that we are tough. I'm tough, man. You're tough. I mean, even the girls are tough, right? Because we're all Mountaineers, Mountaineer Nation. And we expect our players to be tough. And that's what I see what's happening, man. That's all goes into your man trip, your stuff, your family, with the culture that you have, but respecting everything, man, about West Virginia and what it is. And that's why I like this team and this coaching staff so much, because it's cool, man. It's cool to see what I lived through. I lived through that, man. And all of you have lived through it too. If you haven't played it, you've been a fan of it. Well, whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. We're all in this together. And I'm seeing that again. And it's really, really cool. But they're young, man. You got to give them some slack because they're going to make a mistake here or two. 2 steps forward, maybe a step back. Maybe we get up to 3 steps forward and step back or 4. But whatever it is that this team is young, but the future is bright. So when I say we're going down to Lubbock, Texas, and we're going to go ahead and try to get this victory, we're going to try to wreck them. We're going to try to wreck them because I think that the Mountaineers can, and I think this year can be a building year in many different categories, many different areas. But I also think they can have success now, and I think that's going to be really important. You know, I look at the special teams. They're 1-3. You know, Texas Tech can beat you on with their offense. They can have a good day in defense. The offense for the Mountaineers could have a not so good day and not score points. They can beat you. Texas Tech, I mean, they almost beat Texas, right? It took them to I don't know how many overtimes. I think it was 3 overtimes and put up a lot of points, and they gave up a lot of points. This is not a different Texas Tech team that we've seen in the past, but they can beat you if you're not prepared. And our Mountaineers better be prepared as they prepare. Now, as they're probably right now, they're in the air. Right now, they're in the air, headed down to Lubbock, Texas. We need a victory, man. We want to go 4-1 overall and 3-1 in the Big 12. Big 12 is wide open. It's wide open. No game can be lost. And that's why I was excited about Kansas. I know you say, nah, the Kansas Jayhawks, blah, blah, blah. You know, no, it was a great opportunity to keep getting better at what we're doing. Keep getting better. Every game is an excellent opportunity. I even told you about Eastern Kentucky. It's an excellent opportunity to get yourself better. What are your standards? Well, let's go now. Texas Tech, they are going to challenge this defense in that passing game. We need to challenge them in the running game and passing game as well. Good sign of Jared Deggy. Had a good game last week. 300. Well, you got to give me on this one. 311 yards, I believe it was. No, 318 yards. Passing. Best game as a Mountaineer that I've seen him play. Coach Brown wanted to get more explosive plays. Obviously, the 87-yard run to Letty Brown. Mike Brown, I'll tell you, you know who was the baddest Brown on that play? It was Mike Brown, the right guard, because he went and he just took that nose guard and it helped his buddy Chase Barrett. He just, bam, just jacked him. And then he went up at the second level and he hit that linebacker. They were in cover 0. Only 2 things can happen in short yardage in cover 0. Either they come out at you and they get you blitzing, or you pop it, baby. Because if you get past that first level, just like Letty Brown, you are gone to the races. You know, and it was shaboom, shaboom, da 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 da. Stroll in the park, man, for Letty Brown. But Mike Brown, that was the baddest Brown on that play. I'm always going with the offensive lineman, man. I know. Okay, so with all that being said, this is the WolfMan breakdown, and that's my breakdown for Texas Tech. I hope I didn't leave anything out because I just go and talk, and you know I should probably have a better outline of things, but I don't because that's not who I am. And I just want to talk about what I see, what I'm watching for the film. I spend hours and hours watching film. I do the studies, you know, looking at them, what they're doing, what's their, you know, what are they trying to get at, how you defending, how you attacking. You know, I'm trying to read the coaches, and I'm just formulating my own thoughts. And so I hope you enjoy this. I know it goes long sometimes, but you know, you can always just listen to the beginning, listen to my Kegler's take, and go and get some great food. Keglers, remember, tomorrow they open up early, clubhouse and upstairs, the original. Keglers, you can't beat it, man. It's good stuff. We're on the air at 2:30 with MSN Sports Network, Mountaineer Sports Network from Lairfield, IMG College. We're a half hour free, man. Hey, listen, we are the only game in town as far as I'm concerned. You got Coach Dwight Wallace tomorrow. Usually it's a signal caller, but he's out in Lubbock, all this whole COVID-19 thing going on. But Coach Wallace will be calling the game with Tony. We got that going from Lubbock to Morgantown. However they do that, I have no idea, but it's kind of cool. What else we got going on is we just gotta sit there and we gotta go. Gotta go play hard, man. Gotta go play physical. Get jacked up, man. I'm telling you, I like this team. I just don't want to see them make another usual young team mistake where they will come out flat or anything like that. I don't think that's going to happen. I think Coach Brown challenges them. But it is my worry as a former head football coach where I've seen it before. But my friends, Mountaineer Nation, all of you that know me through these videos, man, tell you what, I love the Mountaineers just like you do. And it's an exciting time for us, regardless of this 2020 year. Be safe. Love those Mountaineers, man, because they're fighting. This team is cool. This team is us. Let's go, Mountaineers. Boom.